Hi, coach. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, man.
So, what were you teaching today? Did you have a class today?
Yep, I was teaching System Center Service Manager.
All right. Sounds like a tongue twister.
Yeah, there's a lot of S's
Yeah.
in that.
So, I will send a reminder to everyone who signed up. Signed up for training session. Quick start. How's the weather?
It's not nearly as hot as it has been. It was only 82 degrees this morning.
It's raining here in Karachi. Like it's raining a lot.
Yeah,
Uh, and usually, this is not a rain heavy. This is not an area where it rains. It's usually just hot throughout the year.
yeah.
And we get winter for like a month. That's it.
Mhm.
So so the city is not really built for rain.
Oh,
The
uh,
infrastructure really is it's suffering.
yeah. I get
Climate
Maz was saying that he was flooded out of his office, and that's why he was broadcasting from home yesterday.
yeah,
So.
like it's climate change at its at its best or worst.
Yeah, right.
Training session. Email@wixer.com. So I have sent out the reminder to everyone. So a lot of network administrators and system administrators signed up for this. network manager, network analyst, system analyst, database administrator, IT director, information security risk analyst. Right, so we're going to start in like 6 minutes. All right, you ready, coach?
I'm ready.
Okay, so we are going live in just a couple of seconds.
Ready.
Okay, so we are live. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this training session on how to protect your organization from ransomware. This is your host, EH, and I'm with Coach Culbertson. Um, Coach is a Microsoft certified instructor. He has been teaching for more than 20 years. He has worked with thousands of students over the course of that time, and he's kind of an expert in everything IT. So I thought I would just tap on his expertise and just talk about ransomware. We have been meaning to do this exact training session for several months now. So it's great that we can finally do this, because ransomware, and I was discussing the same thing with Coach yesterday as well, that ransomware is one of the most unreported cyber crimes in the world right now. It goes unreported even when really big companies are involved, when they come under attack, and then it comes out that they were attacked 2 years ago or 3 years ago because they hide it. So yep, let's talk about it today and see how, what role you can play in protecting your organization from ransomware attacks. So take it away, coach. You're on.
All righty then. Well, thanks for hanging out, everybody. Yeah, we're doing a little thing on ransomware. And again, I am your host, Coach Culbertson, and broadcasting to you live from Austin, Texas. Or for those of you who are watching after the broadcast, well, live on Memorex. So, all right. So let's get right in. What is ransomware? You have seen it in the news. You probably have seen it on a variety of different channels and websites and all kinds of different places. Here's what ransomware does. It basically locks your files by encrypting them. Okay, that's what it does. And they don't give you the key. Ransomware comes in a lot of different ways into an environment. And the reality is that it is largely preventable. That's the sad thing, is that there's a lot that you can do. A lot of people say, oh, well, there's just nothing we can do. No, there's a ton that you can do. And quite frankly, the reason why we're seeing this uptick in ransomware is that we're seeing a lot of shops' security practices degrade. I know that sounds terrible and it sounds horrible, but it's true. And so the fact is that most ransomware comes in through social engineering. And a lot of times it comes into a shop, not from malicious people. It's usually someone who is being manipulated into thinking that they're doing something other than what they're doing, which is sometimes installing ransomware. And so we still, even in today's day and age, in 2019, we still see shops that are granting administrative privileges to standard users. And people are going in, they're logging in literally every day, either as a domain administrator or an enterprise administrator. Wasn't that long ago, I was in a shop, and literally every person in the shop, 300 people, were part of the administration privilege group. And I was amazed that something hadn't completely, blown up in that shop. It was just shocking to me. And to a certain degree, can you tell someone how to run their IT shop, how to run their InfoSec? And the answer is, well, no, but yes. And sometimes you're like, there's something happening here. So ransomware is software. It is software that is introduced typically into a particular shop, usually by an unintended victim, is the reality. It encrypts all the files on on your drive, or at the very least, maybe not, if it doesn't encrypt all of them, it at least encrypts some of them, usually the most easily found files. And if it does allow you to stay in your device, it can also lock you out of your device altogether. And so there are ways to kind of get around the getting locked out of your device, but your files can still remain encrypted. So it's nasty. It's not great. And the motive behind this, right, the motive behind this is that the ransomware distributors want you to pay them money. Oftentimes, we hear about folks wanting to get in Bitcoin because for some reason people think that Bitcoin is untrackable. Okay, that's a different webinar for a different day. But here's the thing: is that they want money to give you a key to unlock your computer and your own data. So yes, it is extortion. You're right. You're like, that's not right. That's terrible. That's horrible. And yes, you are correct. It certainly is.
So this may be like a dumb question because I'm probably the only non-IT, non-technical guy here. So the files, they don't move the files physically. That's fascinating. Like the files are still there on your hard drive?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, the files stay right where they are. They're just encrypted. Yeah, and if you're encrypting the files, you don't need to move them. You don't need to steal them. We don't care about the files. We just want you to give us money to get them back, because we know that in this scenario, from a ransomware provider, because by the way, I use the term provider because it is an industry. Okay, ransomware and malware in general is an industry, but they know that your files are important to you. They don't want your files. That's not, what are they going to do with them? Probably a lot of nothing. And so, but you need them. And so we see a lot of ransomware attacks, like EH was saying, go unreported too, because they oftentimes will charge a very small amount to get the key to unlock your files. And it can be anywhere between like $50 up to, a couple of thousand, depending upon the target, right? And so if it's an individual person, oftentimes you'll see the dollar amounts usually in the lower amount. If it's an organization that's been targeted, which we'll talk about an incident that just happened not that long ago, coming up, that there were several entities that were targeted, and in those kinds of shops, the ransomware providers are. They know who they're targeting, and they know that they have at least a few dollars, and sometimes they're asking for hundreds of thousands of dollars for folks to get their files back. So it's a nasty little scheme, and it kind of dropped off in the middle of right around the 2010s, right around the 2010s. And now in the last, I don't know, even the last year, 2017 included, I guess, towards the end of 2017, we saw this major resurgence of ransomware. And even in the last couple of weeks, we're seeing a significant amount of ransomware reports show up from a lot of different places. But the ones that are the most prominent so far have been government agencies. Being public entities, they oftentimes feel a need to report back to their constituency that, hey, this is the thing that happened. This is why we're offline, And so, so there's a very specific audience that the ransomware providers are going after. But again, the motive here is profit, right? The motive is profit. They're trying to get money from you without doing work. Right? Because we all know that if the criminal element wanted to do hard work to get money, they would all get jobs in IT, right? So, and it's an industry. It is literally a business. There are literally shops with employees that are writing this stuff and providing it to people as a service. Okay? And that's the killer, is that it's a service. it's not just a one-off, you give me $49.99 and I'll give you this ransomware that you can distribute however you want. No, they have technical support for this ransomware, right? This is a strangely organized industry. And so there's one particular shop, G and Crab. They were a very popular ransomware of a service provider. They've recently retired, and they posted this upon their retirement. "We are leaving for a well-deserved retirement," the actors wrote in a forum post. "We have proved that by doing evil deeds, retribution does not come." They claim to have collected more than $2 billion in ransom payments, with those running the service getting somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.5 million a week. And that's from Wired.com, a rather recent article that they posted. Yeah, it's a business, right? It is an industry. It is a concerted effort to extract money from people's pockets, and it is, like they say, it's evil. Even the ransomware providers come around and say it's evil, but we have the money and you don't. So that's where the problem lies, right? That's where the problem lies. And so even just this last couple of weeks, we have seen a lot of ransomware attacks come into the news. This New York Times article was just a couple of days ago. And then this one, let's see, it's the 29th today, right? So this article about the 22 Texas towns that were hit, this one was posted 9 days ago. And so, yeah, it's growing. And it is largely preventable. It is largely preventable by doing a lot of basic stuff, right? Doing a lot of basic stuff. But then also, I'm going to present some other additional possibilities that you may want to consider. I am not selling you software, okay? So if you want me to sell you a whiz-bang Swiss Army knife will protect you from everything software, I'm sorry. I don't have that. I am a computer trainer, and my job is to educate you. So I just want everybody to know up front, I'm not selling you anything here. I'm not selling you software on this. This is just stuff that I think you should probably know to protect your shop and even your own home machines, by the way, too, from getting hit with ransomware. So the problem really, and let's talk about how does it get into your network, because again, it's not usually bought from malicious entities. It's not usually from someone in a in a dark cloak, coming under the cover of night to infect your network. It's usually it usually happens because of poor security practices. It usually comes from folks getting a link in an email to Sarah's party, and I don't know who Sarah is, but I always like to go to parties and clicking on that link, and all of a sudden now they're at a website that has a drive-by download that will download and attempt to install to the machine. There's again exploit kits that are out there that are literally being sold with technical support. So it's going to come. It can come from any number of places and spaces. So not that long ago, there was a security study done where they actually took small USB drives and scattered them throughout a parking lot at a major employer. And there's a little software piece that would track and ping a server, if someone were actually to run the software on that particular USB drive. And they distributed 37 drives. Okay, this is 37 drives, and 34 of them were activated. Hey,
So people just picked up the USB drive and they just plugged them in?
Yeah, yeah. Hey man, free USB drive, right? And now a lot of you on this call, I mean, listen, we're IT professionals, a lot of us are. or we've worked with and we've been around IT professionals for long enough, we know not to do that, right? But that doesn't mean your people don't know not to do that. And just because you know it doesn't mean that everyone in your environment knows that. So that's the kicker, is that this stuff comes in, it sneaks in, and folks just don't even realize what they're doing. Most engineered attacks like this come from the inside. And in the case of ransomware, it's usually from the inside, from someone who's being socially engineered. Okay, so that is the bummer. So the best solution, of course, is to prevent infection. The best solution is to not to get hit with it to begin with. And again, there's a lot of stuff that your folks can do to prevent ransomware from the IT standpoint. But then also, we're going to talk about the folks who are not IT too. All right. So from the IT staff perspective, right, we need to do standard reduction of attack surfaces. We need to restrict installations and dangerous file types. I know that your users will scream, especially if they have had local administrative rights for a long time. And if they have the license and the ability, the agency to install whatever they want, I understand that I'm an IT professional and I like to install whatever I want too. But that doesn't mean that I won't get hit because I have to download an application from the wrong site, right? So that's probably the first step, is to restrict what people can and can't install. And by the way, there's a ton of solutions to do this. If you have a server, a Windows Server environment, okay, this is extremely easily done with VA group policy. You can decide what will be installed and what will run on your environment and what will not. Okay, so that's like step number one. Stop people from installing, take away their privileges. I know that your people are going to scream, some of them, but listen, you can only be responsible for you, right? But if you're responsible for all these machines, you have a responsibility to protect those machines. And so restricting installations and dangerous file types too, especially on the download side, is like kind of step number one. Blocking unknown traffic. Knowing where our traffic is coming from is a fantastic idea. Making sure users are not connecting to non-compliant endpoints and endpoints that we do not trust. Just know what's happening in your network. I know it's a challenge, and I know that it's the larger shop that as your shops grow in size, so do the complexity, so do a user's requirements of what they need. But listen, it's also not that hard to know what's happening in your network either. Yes, it's going to take a couple of bucks probably, and a little bit of time to put the right tools in place and implementations in place for that. But this is a critical piece. Install anti-malware. Now, this is a no-brainer, but the other side is that you need to keep it updated. And I know that also seems like a duh statement, but how many shops don't do this? I can tell you, it's a lot. It's a lot. A lot of shops have anti-malware. Said, okay, we installed it, we're good. No, no, you have to keep it updated. And again, I know all of us are sitting here, we're like, well, duh, coach, thank you. Blinding flashes of the obvious. And if you're doing this, awesome, then you're already well on your way to keep yourself protected. But then the next thing is to patch. Please keep the updates in your environment going. Patch your apps, patch your security software, patch your servers, patch your network security appliances. Keep your desktops updated. I know a lot of shops, they're not applying updates. Some of them, they only apply updates like yearly. And we're not talking about two devices that are critical. So for example, right? So for critical boxes that are being run by by airports, right? And are watching the friendly skies, if you will. A lot of times we'll see those devices be updated less, but they need to be updated, right? They need to be, especially with the security updates. And so we need to make sure that those devices, whatever they are, don't care what it is, keep them patched. And I know that it's hard to keep up with, especially if you have, a large shop and you only have 2 people to take care of 10,000 machines. I know it's a little hyperbole, but sometimes it feels like that, right? But this is like, IT 101 kind of stuff here, right? And the reality is that there's a number of shops that are being infected with ransomware because they're not doing this. That's all I'm saying, all right? So don't let that be you. And then also, let's talk about what your non-IT staff can do. So your IT staff, listen, we get it as IT people. We know the need and the requirements for it, but the problem is that it's usually not IT people where the stuff is coming in from. It's usually not. It's usually your rank and file. So something that you can do to keep your users from becoming victims of ransomware is to get data and keep data backed up on a frequent basis. So a lot of shops do not back up their user data on desktops and laptops. I get it, it's expensive, it's complicated. There's things that, there's things we can do. But here's one fantastic solution. Actually, there's a variety of solutions, and I'm not shilling for any of these shops, but these are just examples of applications and services that you can use. Get a cloud solution of some kind that allows you to keep your data redundantly. Office 365 uses OneDrive. Google Docs has Drive. Dropbox is, well, that's all it does, really. And so the reality is that if your desktop gets infected, or if your environment gets infected, now you can pay, and they might give you the key. But remember, these are not upstanding business professionals. These are criminals, right? These are extortionists. They may or may not be interested in giving you the key. They are interested in getting your money. So we don't have like a ransomware database right now for providers that are oh, this guy's a total 5-star provider, because when we gave him $37,000, he totally gave us the key. Great service.
There's no Yelp for ransomware.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, so if you have your users' data in multiple places, if a box does get infected, you can just wipe the box. You can resync the data from that your user has deliberately posted on to Office 365 or Google Docs or Dropbox or whatever service that you want, because there's a bunch of them out there. Obviously, you need to make sure that the service that you're using is compliant with the regulations that your particular shop is under. But there's a lot of other advantages to using these kinds of services as well, which we won't get into. But from a ransomware prevention standpoint, the files will be not locked out there, and you can very easily sync the files back down to the local machine. Okay. Educate. Social engineering is still very much the #1 reason for ransomware and any malware infections, to be honest. But of course, ransomware is, the hot topic of the day, right? So, put together, videos, posters, whatever you can do to get people to start being more aware of the security, because it only takes one, right? It only takes one person to get invited to Sarah's party and to go to that download link and to go and download and install that ransomware application and have it potentially spread throughout your network because, oh, you know what, you should really go check this out, right? And of course it spreads with all the other typical malware tools that are out there. So social engineering is usually how the stuff comes in. It's not, a lot of people say, well, it's, it's an attack from the outside. Well, yes, kind of. Kind of. Again, why do a lot of hard work for this, right? Again, this is not, the point is not to do hard work. That's the point. The point is not to put in a good, honest day's labor. The point is to extort money, to get it fast and easy, and not do a lot of work. So why do that when someone will happily take the software in for you into your own shop, right? So there's that. So train your people, and you know what? I know that not every shop wants to do like big sweeping training, but you can get partners to do the training. There's a shop here in town. They just went through a round of layoffs, and the first people that went were their training staff. They said, "Well, coach, we can't do the training because we cut our trainers loose." Well, you can outsource that. Get a partner to do it. Do lunch and learns. There's a lot of security basic courses out there that training partners will happily plug in for you, and then even provide follow-up for. So if your people know what to look for, then they're way more secure. It's that old adage, knowing's half the battle, right? Thanks, G.I. Joe. And certainly this is probably after reducing all of the mechanized methods that might be used to allow ransomware to get into your shop, the next thing you need to do is to educate your people. Okay. Then after people are educated, then go get a data redundancy solution of some kind and then enforce your users to post their data into these redundancy solutions, like 365 and Drive and Dropbox and SugarSync and I don't know, there's like 1,000 of them out there, and they're not that expensive. By the way, if you're on Google Docs, if you're a Google Apps Office, I know a lot of shops are, you already have Drive. Okay? If you're running Office 365 in your company, you already have OneDrive available. All you have to do is have your users move their data into it. And it's not a difficult thing. Why not just use what you already have? I know, it's just shocking. And but a lot of folks don't think about it because they just don't think about it, right? So I think that with just a little bit of effort and I don't know that it changes your whole culture, right? I don't know if it changes your whole culture in your shop to have your users save things to their OneDrive instead of to My Documents. Maybe it is a culture shift, but at the same time, ransomware is a very expensive proposition, right? Because we know that in today's day and age, it's not oil that is the number one resource in the world. It is data, right? It is data, no matter what it is. Computers we can replace, applications we can reinstall. Data, however, is priceless. So protect it, protect it, protect it, protect it. Now, if you do get stuck with getting hit from a malware application, one of the very first things you need to do, if you suspect malware, you need to start pulling plugs out of your network as fast as you can. Isolate the machine or the machine you suspect is infected. Identify what malware has infected the machine. It's pretty easy to find out, by the way, because there are only a few malware providers of this type, right? So it's pretty easy to discover what it is. And then you need to report the infection. And so one of the things that security and InfoSec people have known for a long time is we're going to get some of our best information from each other. And so if you are infected, you need to report the infection to not just your own InfoSec people, but then also potentially to other authorities as well. And let people know, okay, we have been infected, we're locked out. Here's what we've been infected with. Because as we know more and more, there's so many malware infections that go unreported every year because it's so there's not a huge amount of dollars, right? You should say, oh, well, $700. Oh, okay, well, that's an accounting error for our company. Pay them $700, get us the key, and let's do better next time, right? And that's certainly some shops' approach. However, authorities are recommending, and because here's the thing, is that you don't necessarily know if you give them X amount of dollars that they will pay you, that they will give you that key, right? So assess what you can do. Typically speaking, a wipe and load scenario is going to be the best. Okay. Now then, if the machines that you're using have not been backed up, and you don't have a data redundancy plan in place, there could be data loss, right? So that's why prevention, is your first wave of attack and defense at the same time. And then, if you are infected, yeah, listen, I get it. I have deep compassion because way back in the day, golly, it must have been 2002. I got infected with ransomware. It was my personal machine, and so I was like, I cannot believe that I was this obtuse to not notice that I was probably downloading something that was probably infected. And it happens. It happens to the best of us. So then you do better next time, right? You have a plan of prevention that you need to put into place so that it doesn't happen again. But if you're in a position where you have to make this call for your shop. I can't make it for you, right? On whether or not to pay the ransom. A lot of shops will say, well, we don't negotiate with terrorists or extortionists or whatever you want to call them. Okay, I get that. If that's the case, then if you've done the prevention, then you don't have to worry much about it because the prevention is already there. You have redundant copies of the data. You can just pull down from the cloud. You're done. It's good, right? But if the data is not backed up, you don't have a redundancy for that. It could be a problem. Okay. So, and there are courses that are out there that can be helpful for IT staff. Quick Start does offer an enterprise security fundamentals class. It's like around 16 hours. You can come hang out with us. And also Security Plus. Security Plus is a great foundational level course that I really think every IT professional should take anyway. It just, the basics haven't changed that much in 20 years. Okay, I mean, some of you're expecting like some kind of miracle solution for me to bring to you in this session, and some of the stuff I've been saying is pretty basic, right? And so if you're disappointed, I'm sorry, but the reality is that security is still security, and hopefully, if this conversation we're having hasn't spurred you on to action yet, or at least wanted to jump into action now. Send somebody to class or get them set up and get them grounded in the basics, because the basics are still solid and can prevent a massive amount of breaches. And then also for non-security people, or non-IT people, I should say, non-IT people, we have a digital security awareness. It's less than 6 hours, right around that. And again, get yourself a partner, get a partner in to do that, whether it's online or video or whatever whatever you want to, whatever modality you feel is going to be right for your shop. Cool. But most shops, it's going to be not the IT people. The IT people can only mechanize so far, and I know, we can only mechanize so far. And at that point, we also have to take care of our rank and file, make sure that the humans are also protected, right? And a source of protection for your company. That's what I have, my friends. Do you have questions, comments, funny stories, rude remarks, or angry complaints that you'd like to discuss about ransomware?
All right, everyone. So if you have any questions later on, you can always reach out to us at expertconnect.quickstart.com or just drop me an email at marketing@quickstart.com. And so we have a question, any info about playbooks? Uh, could you explain this question a little bit more? Like, what do you mean by playbooks? Playbooks to, okay, so are you talking about a playbook to respond to ransomware attack?
Well, from that standpoint, hang on just a second here. So it's going to depend upon the ransomware itself, right? So there's going to be different ways to approach different pieces of ransomware. But I would say that the response and the reality is that without that key, you're not going to decrypt those files, right? So I kind of tried to select like the big sweeping elements out of the responses that I've been researching. So in terms of, this is solely an IT level. This webinar was designed for IT people. So from that standpoint, in terms of like, what should you do? Well, you need to go talk to your legal people. And but from an executive standpoint, I'm not an executive. I'm an IT guy. So so from that standpoint, this is what IT people need to do, and then from a rank and file standpoint, what we need to do from there. So yeah, but first response always is, like I said, unplug your machines, identify what you're working with, and then, from there, depending upon your vertical, report to the proper authorities. Those are pretty standard first response actions that you're going to see in pretty much all of the recommended responses. So next question, would you recommend one of the data backup solutions to be taped so it is off the network? Well, I'm not sure I would recommend that. I mean, certainly tape has been a standby for since the beginning, right? And so is it an option? Yes. The challenge, I would say, with tape is, are you going to back up your clients, right? So, and so if you have a solution in which you are taking your client data, transferring it to a server, and then backing up that server in a centralized source, then that would make sense to me using tape. I don't know that doing tape, certainly that's a method, right? I mean, it's off the network and it's more secure. I think cloud-based solutions are just as secure, in my opinion. Lots of people want to fight with me about this. I've been doing cloud stuff like the last, 7 years-ish or so, and focused a lot of my work in the cloud. And I think that from a client perspective, you're only saving down the deltas when you're using these cloud solutions, or you're saving up the deltas. So when you have those synchronizations, when you're only saving deltas, I think that is probably a more apt solution than doing tape backups. But I mean, certainly tape would do it. Tape would do it. I know there's still a lot of shops that are running tape. And so if your solution is able to extract the client data, if you're doing something like a lot of shops, they will not allow clients to write to, like even like my documents. Usually in those shops, there's only a small risk that ransomware will be installed because users can't install anything, right? So in these kinds of scenarios, more security is better, but we're always losing usability when we hit that security level, right? So, I mean, tape is an interesting solution, but I think it's probably like shooting a house flash with a 12 gauge shotgun in this standpoint, in that it'll get the job done, but it might put a big hole in your wall or in your wallet, as this case might be. So, yeah, so I think it might be a little overkill, but at the same time, is it effective? Yes. So.
So are you recommending like a hybrid cloud kind of a setup where, you know, you have your on-premises storage and then you have the backup in the cloud, or are you talking about going 100% cloud?
Well, I would recommend, from a cloud standpoint, whatever solution you have, you're going to have that solution where you have or you're going to have redundancy. You're going to have one local copy on the local machine and then one copy in the cloud. I don't know that you necessarily need, if you want, like GC just posted up in the chat box, maybe a third copy for that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, you'd have to do some, you could certainly do that. You'd have. I don't know of any current solutions that also would support a third copy to tape, but it doesn't mean you can't ad hoc one and put one together. So, I mean, certainly that would do the job. All right, good questions. Other questions?
All right, everyone. So I guess we're gonna wrap this up today and see you guys next time. Thank you, Coach, for a wonderful session on ransomware. And let's you and I get together and think of new topics for the next
All
session.
right.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for attending. See you guys next time. Bye.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.